South Africa has a renowned program in terms of the renewable energy program. But one of the biggest challenges for us is that while we have over 1,500 megawatts added onto the grid, it's not assisting us in terms of dealing with peak demand, which is when we need the energy the most. So some of the developments that have come up, like the project in Groblershoop in the Northern Cape, is very exciting for me because we are now, the Saudis are building the biggest storage facility using molten salt. Now, when you start looking at that, then you are beginning to talk about a game changer. Because then right now you're talking about availability of up to 50 megawatts over 9 hours. So it means after the sun has set, you still have that available. So that for me is the game changer. Before you'd be talking about availability, maybe if you're talking of a factory, in terms of solar, it would work because you have 8 to 5. But our challenges are not between 8 and 5, it's after 5 o'clock. In terms of renewable energy, particularly solar, the CSP with this kind of storage, I think, is really going to make a big difference and be able to assist us with the current challenges. It's also clear that one of the main reasons that we have the challenges of electricity that we have right now is not something that started in 2008. It's actually something that started way long before that, but did not surface because at that time we had so-called enough capacity in terms of people who are getting the energy. And people are aware that there's the war room that has been set up in government. And I think one of the key things was really the question of diagnosing what the problem is. Our problem is not sufficient generation capacity. We do have generation capacity. What we don't have is availability because of a series of issues. A big part of it is around maintenance. And I think it has remained hidden for long. And the fact that Medupi and Kusile have been delayed have actually exposed the problem. In 2008, when we did have the first round of load shedding, as we are managing this load shedding, we need to be dealing with some of these challenges, as I said, of the maintenance, because while we are bringing in more capacity, we are all aware that we've recommissioned a lot of power stations that we had decommissioned. They are coming on, but they're not coming on at a rate, fast enough rate to surpass the partial load losses that we are having. That remains something that we need to deal with. So between 2008 and now, we've had maybe 6,000 megawatts added onto the grid. And the demand today is far below what it was in 2008. And yet we have these losses. So we need to deal with those systemic issues. If we're having an ideal world, as some of the things are said in the paper, if you have an industry and the assumption is that the industry would then provide some kind of power for the people who live around there, then we wouldn't have some of the challenges that we have. But it does not happen like that. And as government, we have a responsibility to ensure access to modern forms of energy. And this is not just a nice to have, it's an imperative. Energy poverty does have a female face. Women are the ones who have to go out and look for the firewood, who have to then make sure that they have the heating in order to cook and so on and so forth. So in looking at our energy mix, we need to look at what is it that will help us to deal with the issues of the environment. So looking at substituting maybe our primer stoves and turning them into gas stoves so that we don't have the annual disasters that we have because the paraffin of the candle has tipped over. So the use of gas is important. It's as we said, it's cleaner than coal, and it would help us to stop people from cutting down trees. Then there's the issue of the CSP, as we said, the solar. But the reality is that we have vast resources of coal. And the challenge and what we're looking at is now, what are the technologies in terms of gasification of coal so that we can use this coal in a much cleaner form. Nuclear is definitely something we want to look at in our mix because as a country, we've been using nuclear for the past 30 years. Cape Town is powered by nuclear. It's currently our cheapest source of energy. It's our most reliable. It's also clean. It's also clean energy. So there are all those things that we need to look at so that we don't have all our eggs in one basket.